Today's news. No improvement on human rights and media situation in Nakhchivan. European Commission discusses local authority development. Transparency problems in mine remain. Draft laws on standardization.
IRFS held a press conference today to present a project report for its Monitoring of Human Rights and Mass Media in Nakhchivan initiative, which is being implemented with financial support from the Norwegian Foreign Ministry. The report covered the last 3 months. IRFS chairman Emin Husseinov reported that 2 TV channels, 2 radio stations and 9 newspapers are currently operating in the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic, the NAR, and they are all financed by local authorities. The project leaders, Elman Abbasov and Hamildostu Mediev, said that there had been no positive developments in the human rights or media situation. All mass media outlets are propaganda machines for former President Heydar Aliyev, President Ilham Aliyev, and the NAR Parliament head, Vasif Talibov. There was no criticism of the incumbent establishment. The newspapers did not report on developments in other parts of Azerbaijan, let alone on international news. The residents of Nakhchivan are living in an information vacuum. This problem is compounded by the lack of high-speed internet capability. The project leaders said that independent and opposition journalists, as well as mass media outlets, are banned from entering the NAR. Based on their findings, they predict that media representatives and human rights defenders will face increasing challenges. Nakhchivan residents often face pressures and harassment from local authorities. For example, residents who want to bring home food from Turkey have to bribe officials at the checkpoint. If they refuse to do so, their goods are confiscated and sold on to traders. Similarly, residents are not allowed to import cars produced before 2006. According to the project coordinators, the measures taken by local authorities are geared towards developing their personal business interests. Project editor Idrak Abbasov spoke about the diminishing number of information sources in the NAR. According to him, the government agencies are generally reluctant to provide information to citizens, and citizens who go to the media face consequences. Today, the European delegation's regional seminar on structural dialogue discussed opportunities for the development of Baku's local authority. In attendance were 120 representatives from 17 countries, including Armenia, which is party to the European Neighbourhood Policy. The speakers emphasized that the regional seminar had no relation to the recent events in the region and had been planned long before that. Dialogue is very important. If the governments create the necessary conditions, civil societies will express their views in a timely manner and without fear, declared Roland Kobier, the head of the EU delegation in Baku. Kobier opened with remarks on Azerbaijan's willingness to cooperate with international institutions. He observed that the executive power in Baku fulfills the functions of local authorities in Azerbaijan. The EU is implementing several projects in cooperation with the local executive power, for example, on professional education, another project for children with disabilities, and several new tourism initiatives. Ariston Mediev of the presidential administration reported on the development of the local authority. He said that the dialogue between state and the civil society had been a long and complicated process and had now reached partnership level. The appropriate laws have been created and the government allocates funding for civil society, he said. The director of the Peace and Democracy Institute, Leyla Yunus, told Objective TV that from now on, Azerbaijan NGOs will be represented in the European Commission. Along with other representatives from Georgia, Yemen and Morocco, I have been selected as an NGO envoy to the EC, she said.
A coalition of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative held a roundtable discussion of the results of the annual activities of the Multilateral Working Group. The working group brings together 4 representatives from 3 parties, the Government Commission on the Initiative, local and foreign mining and extractive companies, and a coalition of non-governmental organizations to increase transparency in mining industries. The Open Society Institute Assistance Foundation supports NGOs that are a part of the initiative. According to project participants, the multilateral group should ensure the development of the initiative in Azerbaijan. Savit Bagirov, representing the Caspian region for the initiative, said that there are some issues in transparency which still remain unresolved. In particular, extractive companies are delaying the transition that requires them to provide individual reports on their activities. However, he expressed a hope that the question will be partially solved following the adoption in the United States of the 2010 requirements for companies registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission to submit an individual report on their overseas activities. 29 of 32 extracting companies active in Azerbaijan joined the Transparency Initiative, but with exceptions of BP, Statoil, and SOCAR, none of them submitted individual financial reports. The state company SOCAR still remains closed to the public. The company publishes its reports with a long delay and does not want to have contact with NGO representatives. The situation is better in the Governmental Commission Initiative. The head of the Secretariat, Farzaliev Farid, said that the committee is open to cooperation in the field of transparency and has decided to develop annual reports beginning this year. The State Committee on Standardization, Measurements, and Patents has prepared draft laws on the technical regulation and assessment of compliance and accreditation, announced committee head Ramiz Hassanov at a press conference in the office of the ruling New Azerbaijani Party. Hassanov said that the draft documents had been written in consultation with international experts, including representatives from the European Standardization Committee and the World Intellectual Property Organization. We have created an information center with the assistance of the German Technical Cooperation. This will allow Azerbaijan to start working towards the World Trade Organization membership. Last year, the State Committee on Standardization, Measurements, and Patents signed bilateral agreements with similar organizations in Poland, Serbia, Egypt, Hungary, Israel, Macedonia, Syria. Under the ministerial decree, the European standards on food quality and safety have been implemented.